Hi, it's Jim here. We're thinking of having a live studio audience for our AI weekend show, Project Synapse. It's grown to be quite popular, and this is an experiment, so I'm checking to see if there's interest. We record Friday mornings at 8:30 a.m. If you are interested, there's more information at the end of today's show. Anthropic agrees to a $1.5 billion copyright settlement. A study reports that senior developers say half their code is AI generated. Broadcom admits to selling VMware Shelfware. A politician accused of making a threatening call claims, "That's not my voice." And Musk's robot servant demo sure wasn't Optimus Prime. Welcome to #Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Anthropic has agreed to pay $1.5 billion to settle a class action from authors who say their books were used without permission to train Anthropic's Claude. A judge still has to approve it, but if it goes through, it's being called the largest copyright recovery to date. Anthropic will not only pay the damages, but will also be required to destroy the downloaded book files. Anthropic didn't have to admit any liability under the settlement. Parna Sridhar, the Deputy General Counsel at Anthropic, said, "We remain committed to developing safe AI systems that help people and organizations extend their capabilities, advance scientific discovery, and solve complex problems." The payout works out to about $3,000 per book for roughly 500,000 titles. But the deal avoids a December trial that could have carried a risk of a greater payment. And as that one suit is settled, another appears. Warner Brothers Discovery has sued Mid-Journey, alleging countless unauthorized images and videos featuring DC and other studio characters. This is a separate fight, images versus text, but it offers another aspect of how AI can use copyrighted works. 32% of senior developers, those with more than 10 years of experience, say over half of the code they ship is generated by AI. In contrast, for junior developers, the number is just 13%. Those surprising results come from a survey of 791 professional developers conducted this past July and sponsored by Fastly, a company that operates content delivery network and edge computing cloud platforms used by developers worldwide. Another surprise from the study was a gap between how developers feel subjectively about their productivity and what objectively actually happens. Nearly 60% of senior developers say they believe AI tools make them faster. Almost 30% say the time they spend editing AI code cancels out those gains. But in a controlled trial, experienced developers using AI coding assistants actually took 19% longer to finish tasks, even though they thought they were working 20% faster. Researchers suggest that the reason might be that the initial AI coding feels instantaneous, but it masks the hours spent reviewing, debugging, and correcting the code. One developer in the survey pointed out, "An AI coding tool like GitHub Copilot greatly helps my workflow by suggesting code snippets and even entire functions. However, it once generated a complex algorithm that seemed correct but contained a subtle bug, leading to several hours of debugging." But in fairness, what programmer, no matter how experienced, hasn't introduced a difficult-to-resolve but subtle bug in code they wrote themselves? The overall assumption is that AI may write what could be termed a great first draft, but developers still have to make sure the final version actually runs. Now, just as an aside, not part of this story, Linus Torvalds, I'm sure most of you know who he is. He's the inventor of Linux and still heads up that project. He's been quite calm for a while, and he's had a couple of blow-ups recently about bad code. But he blew up again over the past couple of days when a contributor added what he called unnecessary, redundant, and irrelevant information links into his code. I just have to wonder how long before we can see Linus's first explosion about AI-generated code. Actually, I can't wait. And if he's already done it, please, somebody send me a note. Broadcom has admitted that many customers bought VMware Cloud Foundation licenses but never actually deployed them, selling what we in the industry would call shelfware. On its third quarter earnings call, CEO Hock Tan said, "I'm careful about choice of words because we have sold them on it and they bought licenses to deploy. It doesn't mean they're fully deployed." Broadcom says over 90% of its top 10,000 VMware customers already hold subscriptions to VMware Cloud Foundation. And as Broadcom noted, no numbers, but they say not all are actually using it. The company's new strategy is to try to move those customers from simply owning the licenses to actually implementing them in production. That second phase also includes bundling in more products and services, disaster recovery, container management, GPU support, and advanced security features, with an aim to make VMware Cloud Foundation a full on-premises private cloud stack. The company does seem to be determined to turn these unused contracts into real deployments, converting shelfware into recurring revenue. And it's a great idea because customers can grow to resent being pressured to buy software they don't use, which is not only an added cost, but if revealed in an audit, it can be embarrassing. So Broadcom appears to be betting on a resurgence of on-premises computing to help deliver the real value of its bundled package. And it's kind of ironic that a company that makes a great deal of its money selling chips to hyperscalers is hoping that its clients will move to on-prem. And whether customers see this as added value or as a push to lock them in remains an open question. Now, if you think that GPT-5 got a cool reception, Tesla's unveiling of its Optimus robot servant made things even worse. Honestly, it was so awkward, I almost felt sorry for Elon Musk, and the robot for that matter. There's a video making the rounds. The robot looks incredibly awkward. And if this was some kind of demo, it seemed like they were at a loss as to what it could do. Finally, after what seems to be an interminable amount of time staring at this robot standing in a hallway, somebody asks, "Where can I get a Coke?" The delays in the replies were long, and the answer not worth waiting for. The robot almost looked sad as it said, "Sorry, I don't have real-time info, but I can take you to the kitchen if you want to check for a Coke there." Then the machine shuffled forward stiffly, rattling as it walks. It was not a pretty sight. Not exactly the sleek helper Musk promised when he said Tesla could sell 10 billion units by 2040. And the video was also very confusing about the price of the robot. Musk had talked earlier of robots in the $20,000 to $30,000 price point. That seems to be the general price that most companies are settling on as what will be successful for the humanoid robots. But the prices mentioned in the video were between $200,000 and $500,000, which is a heck of a range and doesn't really scream, "We're ready to sell this." Given the underwhelming demo, critics were quick to pounce. One observer wrote, "Walking without falling over is extremely hard, but this thing is like 11% as good as Boston Dynamics Atlas from 7 years ago." Another Reddit user quipped, "Imagine how bad it is if this is the video they decided was good enough to show the world." So instead of a sci-fi glimpse of the future, Tesla's $500,000 robot looked more like a clumsy prototype. If this was meant to inspire awe, it mostly inspired laughter. So much so that it made GPT-5's lukewarm debut look spectacular in comparison. And as I said, this ain't Optimus Prime. And a late-breaking story from the world of AI. An Ontario municipal councillor accused of sending a threatening voicemail says the message was created using AI, or in her words, "It may be partly my voice, but I did not create this message." A former mayoral candidate, who is also a retired police officer, says he received the voicemail and reported it to the police, which places the investigating officers in a real dilemma. It's high profile, and threats of violence are a criminal matter. But investigators now have to determine whether this was a real voice message or an AI-doctored fake. Given the quality of some of the current fakes, this is going to take some resources to do. The mayor of Clarington, Adrian Foster, acknowledged the allegations and added, "I am aware of the serious allegations that have recently surfaced, and I trust that this matter will be appropriately investigated by the authorities." Which dumps it back from the political arena to the police. If this sort of thing continues to grow, local police departments could be overwhelmed. They're already under-resourced at a time when the few trained officers that most have are urgently needed to deal with the growing amount of cyber threats and fraud. Even if they can get help from the senior police forces, there's no surplus of resources there either. Get ready to hear demands not just for feet on the street, but for fingers on the keyboards. And that's our show. As I mentioned, for fans of our AI weekend show, Project Synapse, we're looking to try something new and have a small studio audience for at least one of our shows. If you're interested, please let us know right away. We normally record Friday mornings at 8:30 a.m. If there's interest, invitations will be sent on a first-come, first-offered basis. Just go to technewsday.com or .ca, either works, and use the Contact Us form to let us know you're interested. That's technewsday.com or .ca. Use the Contact Us form. And if you are interested and free between 8:30 and 10 a.m. on Fridays, check it out. We'll test it out. Maybe we'll keep it as part of the show. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a terrific Tuesday.